Welcome back to Market It with ATMA, where we share the tips, tools, and strategies to help your business be successful. I'm your host, Story, and today we have on the show talented designer and founder of Ashley D. Love Design. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So I'm so excited to learn all about you and your business. So can you start by telling us just about you, what inspiration inspired you to get into this and where you're at now?
So I've always been a creative person. So I've been drawing and designing since I was a child. I got into fashion because I was designing clothes and didn't even realize that I was designing clothes until everybody else started pointing it out.
How well you were at it. Great.
Right. I was very detailed with designing all of the clothing, whether it was a dress or pants. It was just very detailed, and everybody was like, oh, well, have you ever thought about being a fashion designer? And I didn't really think about it until my godfather and his now ex-wife mentioned it because they were looking at my drawings too. And so they were like, yeah, we want you to keep this up. And so I started researching, and I was like, okay, this is where I want to go.
Okay, so you've always been really artistic
I have.
in what you do.
Yes.
That's awesome. And it's great to have that support and backing behind you. That's wonderful. Yes. So at what moment do you think in your life did you decide, you know what, I want to be a fashion designer? Was it after you'd learned a little bit more about fashion design, or when you realized other people were noticing how good you were at it?
I think it was when other people were noticing how good I was at it. And then afterwards, when I started doing the research, I'm like, okay, all right.
So what kind of designs do you specialize in?
I specialize in women's activewear, swimwear, and sleepwear.
Oh, wow. And what made you decide on that particular area of fashion?
I will talk about graduate school a lot because that's where I did, like a lot of, the design part. When I had to create my thesis, we had to actually put on our own fashion show in addition to write our thesis and then do the dissertation.
That's a lot.
Yes. The pieces, I think they had to be like 10 looks each, and the looks are like different outfits. Okay. My main thing was always color blocking, which was like putting different colors together to try to create a little pattern. And I wanted to try to incorporate that, and I wanted to kind of keep it in lingerie. But then it was like when I started like doing, I think I did like a dress or something. I think I had designed a dress. And a professor was like, oh, that would be really good, for like, activewear. And then that's when she talked about how she was a cyclist.
Oh, okay.
And she talked about like all the different things when it came to cycling. And so like that's what made me like go into the activewear part. Because like if you have noticed, like a lot of it, is like black, white, gray. You really don't see color.
Right.
And so I made sure to put like a lot of color into it and did like a lot of, mixing of like different fabrics.
And it was received well?
It was, because one thing that would always happen with this, like, and I still have the collection at home.
Wow.
If I put that in a fashion show, one thing that always happens is the model does not want to take it off.
That's because when you have it on, you love it. That's when you know it's great.
Yes. And like I remember when, because before we actually make the real garment, whatever it is, we have to do what is called a muslin, which is a sample.
Okay.
And so I did a sample of that particular dress.
Wow.
And so like the model, because I think she was at another school, and she would come and like be the model for like different classes. And so she put on that dress.
Right.
And so she put on the dress, and I think I had designed some leggings too. So she had to put all that on, and we had to talk about the fit and what needed to be changed. And my mom came to visit, my mom and my sister. They were in the classroom. And so they noticed that because she had to, I think, fit for other people, because it was like 3 other people in the class besides me.
Yeah.
So she was the model for like everybody. And so one thing my family noticed was that she put back on my dress, and the dress was messed up. Like the hem was messed up and everything, but she put it back on. And so she had to put on somebody else's sample. And it was like every time, you know, she'll put somebody else's stuff on, she'll take it off and put back on my dress.
How funny. This is her go-to.
That was always her
go-to.
go-to.
And you noticed it? Interesting.
And then, like, she was doing homework, too. And so, like, she took a break. She still had my dress on. It was, again, the sample.
She was trying to take that home, wasn't she?
She sat in the corner, did her homework in that dress, and my mom was like, wait a minute.
What is she doing? Yeah. So that's when you really had that aha moment.
Yeah.
And since then, you've had a couple of accomplishments. Can you tell us a little more about who you've designed for and how that experience happened? How did you develop over time and obtain them?
So I think the first company that I designed for, it was, I think they did, that was how I got into sleepwear. These two women, they wanted to design sleepwear that was, you could kind of wear it out if you had to go somewhere.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So
instead of a robe.
It was like fashionable sleepwear. Just in case you had to go and run a quick errand and you didn't want to change clothes, you still wanted to look like something. That was their idea.
I love it.
And so and I think at this time I ended up moving back home because, you know, economy, couldn't find anything. And I had to move back to Mississippi. And that's when I noticed that, like, I think they were the first to contact me. And I thought it was like because sometimes it does like spam, you know, there's like a spam thing where it's like, oh, well, I'm looking for somebody to design this, and it's not real.
Right. Bots kind of thing. Gotcha.
So I honestly thought that's what it was until I looked at it again and I'm like, this looks kind of real.
Something told me, right, in that moment.
So I contacted the person, and she contacted me back, and she was like, my friend and I, we're doing this sleepwear line, and we have seen your stuff, and we really, really want you to design for us.
Wow.
And so they wanted me to do like a little test, like a test illustration to see like what I come up with.
Is that typical in your industry? Okay.
Sometimes, I always thought it was typical because it happened to me, but one of my friends, she was like, that has never happened to me. So,
interesting. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? And figure it out along the way.
Right. So, I think I did this, it was like a corset style tank top with briefs, and it was like male style briefs. And so they loved it, like, and it was like mint and green.
So it was something that they had never seen before, and you just created it based on what the criteria was.
Yeah, like what they were asking for. And so they loved the colors, they loved the design, and they were like, we really, really like this. I feel that this should be like the main design for our line.
Oh, wow. Like the focal point. Everything goes back to this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they used that. And then, like, we had to come up with, like, another collection because they end up having somebody else as, like, the technical designer. And she did, like, all of the measurements, you know, got the numbers for the bust, waist, like, all the technical stuff when it came to, like,
that's
getting
nice.
the numbers ready.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of work hand in hand. So I think it ended up being, like, 6 different looks. Because it was that, and then I think we had a robe, and I can't remember like all the other stuff, but I know it was like 6 different looks that we did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the challenge with them, and I like it's kind of like this, depending on who your manufacturer is, they had problems with the manufacturer.
Ah, okay.
Because when it came to actually designing, they would mess up. So they were like, okay, yeah, we keep spending money on this. Why don't you sew this for us?
Talking about you.
It was just that one little sample, like the main, you know, the corset style. And so they was like, yeah, if possible, can you do it for us?
Wow.
And they paid me. And so, like, since I had already done it.
Why not? Yeah.
So sold it, sent it to them, and they were like, yours looks better than the manufacturer's.
That's incredible. but it's almost a boutique style.
Mm-hmm.
So you've, from working with them, you've designed for Shein and Iconi.
Mm-hmm.
So what practices kind of helped your brand grow to where they could see you and reach out to you?
I think the coordinator at the time, she saw, I think she saw my stuff on Instagram.
Okay.
And she reached out to me.
Wow.
And she was like, I really like what you do. We have, this program, Shein X, and I feel you will be great for it.
Okay.
And so I had to fill out the information, come up with like a 15 look collection.
Wow.
My inspiration, whatever colors I wanted. They had strict guidelines on how it should be.
Okay, so it was kind of your inspiration, but you had to stay within parameters that they want. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
So, and I think you couldn't do swimwear. Yeah, it was like something with like along the lines of that, because I think it was like you couldn't do swimwear or something else. So I kind of did it like it was still like almost active, but it was like more knit.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like knit ready to wear.
Yeah.
And I kind of gave it like a 70s feel.
Ooh.
All of the different, colors with it.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think like I didn't have to sew anything. They had everything. All they did was like just snap the pictures, because I think I had to when it came to the measurements, I had to like go on other sites.
Oh yeah.
And like get the measurements and then put it in. And so I was like, okay, well, if this is not correct, let me know. We can fix it. But of course, when they sold it, it came out perfect.
That's awesome.
So like they would take pictures of like all the samples, and they're like, okay, if there's any changes, let us know. And so like afterwards, like after everything was done, they were like, okay, it's going to be live on this day. What I did not anticipate was a person contacted me before it went live. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, before it went live, she contacted me on Instagram, and she was like, I'm seeing this shirt. I'm trying to figure out where to purchase it. Where can I find it? And I'm like, oh, well, it's not live yet. It's going to be live on this day. And she was like, okay, I see like other pieces that you have.
Wow. So they already put your designs on the website?
Yeah, but I think it was probably like in the, just in preparation for it.
Right.
But it wasn't live yet. So how she ended up seeing it, I don't know. But she
contacted the universe aligned.
Yeah, she contacted me, and she was like, yeah, like I'm trying to find this shirt. I really, really like this, and I can't wait until I see the rest of it. And so when it went live, and I shared it, not only did I share it on social media, but like they even had the thumbnails.
Oh wow!
Of my stuff, so people were purchasing.
That is amazing. So what would you say the biggest challenge working for people like that, or companies like that want a creative outlet, someone to be creative when designing it but stay within parameters? What would you say is the biggest challenge in just designing that all together?
I guess like still trying to have your concept, like your creative concept.
Kind of putting your touch on everything.
Putting a touch on everything, but still trying to keep it marketable.
Yeah, because when you even design for another company, you still want to have that creative touch, right?
Right.
So that you can keep your brand.
Right.
That is so cool. So that was the biggest challenge you think there was?
That's the biggest challenge, and also like coming up with all the numbers for like the different sizes and everything.
So how do you overcome those challenges? Would you say?
That's a tough one.
Just kind of educate yourself on the sizes.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, right? A lot of the stuff you still have to kind of do research on it and make sure, like, okay, well, this is good, and then like, sometimes like you have to have fit sessions, but if you can't do the fit sessions, then you still, kind of have to still go back to that research to make sure everything is correct.
Right. So constantly educating yourself, no matter how long you've been in the industry, is really important.
Right. And I will say that in this industry, you are always learning something new. So it is
because
like
fashion changes, right? I didn't even think about that. How versatile you have to be.
Right.
and I'm sure with programs. And you'd mentioned before that AI has become a part of your fashion design. Can you tell me more about that?
So like right now, and there are like a lot of different companies out. So one company that I always use, and I think I can't remember if they're in the UK. I can't remember where they're located, but they're called Newark. And so like with Newark, whatever it is that I sketch out or I design, I can upload that picture.
Oh.
And it will factor it into like how it looks in real form.
Oh, wow. That's the AI automation.
Whether it is like how it looks like just on a hanger or on a person.
That is so cool. So, it's amazing what technology has done. So that's really helped you kind of craft and optimize your styles for the people that reach out to you.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So like if, like let's just say if somebody is trying to create a line and they want to like do a presentation, but they don't have the actual, like it's not sewn. Yeah. They don't have it in front of them. They can have that as like the presentation. Like, okay, well, if this was like the actual dress, this is how it would look.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what would you say your biggest visibility is? Would you say social media is how a lot of people contact you, or would you say referrals are kind of your bread and butter? And what platforms?
So I would say social media, but there have been times where people, like whoever contact me, they're like, yeah, I just Googled fashion designer and your information popped up. So it was either website or like one of my social media pages. So I would say like social media and internet.
Wow.
And then I do have like some people where they'll be like, okay, well, if you're looking for a designer, Ashley, can design.
So it's a lot of referrals.
So it's kind of like a mix. Yeah, kind of like a mix of both, like social media and
I bet managing the social media, because you mentioned getting spam sometimes and having to weed through those is a whole job in itself.
Yes.
Now that I'm learning, I don't know the fashion industry, but now that I'm learning more from you, it seems like that would be a daunting task.
It is.
But you actually receive a lot of good feedback, right, from your social media platforms.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So touching on that, what advice would you give to somebody that is just starting out in fashion design?
Learn everything that you can about fashion, because once you get into this field, you will see that it is not easy. One thing that I have, and in addition to designing, I'm also a fashion design professor. So one thing that I have definitely seen when it comes to students who are just starting, they look at shows and they're like, okay, I could do that. And then once they actually get into classes and they see how tough and challenging it is, they're like, oh, I didn't know that it was going to be this way.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing that you not only do fashion design, but you really are staying on top of the latest trends by teaching the design portion of it. So you are constantly educating yourself. Yes. And how long in the industry did you say you've been in it?
Over 17 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking for a point person, you'd probably be it, right? That's awesome. You said fashion isn't as easy as it looks, right?
That's
so what's one thing other than constantly learn you wish people understood before they get into the class and then have to find out the hard way?
That you will have to do math. That was one thing that I didn't realize until I had to take pattern making. And I'm just going to go ahead and just say it. I'm not really good at math.
I mean, we never start out good at it, but.
Right. So when it comes to creating patterns for whatever it is that you are doing, it is going to be a lot of math involved, fractions, geometry.
So those geometry classes are useful.
Yes. Yes, in this case, yes. And I did not realize it until I had to create different shapes and sew it and make sure that it is right. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So there is an analytical side to the creative mind and artist.
Yes.
Wow.
So, it is definitely math involved when you take pattern making. And especially with trying to get the fit right, because once you do that sample and fit it on a person, you may see like where it fits too loose or too tight, and you're like, okay, we have to take this certain measurement and add that in, or take this certain number of measurement out.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's so much finite detail that changes probably everything.
Yes.
You have more patience than I could ever have. I know that for sure. So on that point, you've been in the industry a long time, and it seems like you're starting to branch out into other ventures. What are your upcoming ventures you're starting to do?
Right now, I am illustrating a book for one of my friends.
Okay.
His son has created a book. And he has commissioned me to be the artist, and that has also been like another area where I have ventured into. I didn't realize that, but he had me to do another book, and we're still working on that. So, working on this book for his son right now.
It seems like you really enjoy it, the way your face kind of lights
and
up.
I guess because he's young, he's a teenager, so I'm like, okay.
Hey, yeah, he's got some entrepreneurial spirit as well.
Right.
And I looked at some of your designs and sketches, and they're just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know how you do it. I'm the other brain for sure. So what inspired you to kind of start branching out into the venture? You mentioned a coloring book, too, thinking about creating that. What inspired that? Was it him creating the book, or was it something else?
Well, it was because I'm in a sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho sorority. So one of my sorority sisters, she saw, I can't remember if I put a sketch in our group or something, but she looked on my Etsy and saw my illustrations. Okay. And she has a book publishing company.
Oh, what a quinkity.
Yeah.
Right.
So she's also an instructor as well. Okay. So we're kind of like in the same, yeah. I think hers is English, I do believe. But
teaching and designing are two that y'all are kind of.
Yeah, well, she's not designing. She just does the teaching, but she also has the book publishing.
Yeah.
And so she saw my Etsy, and she was like, your illustrations. And what I had was like, it wasn't even in detail. It was just like sketches of like the figures with no clothes on.
Oh, okay.
And so she was like, yeah, have you ever thought about doing illustrations for a book? You should be doing this.
It seems like other people see your technique and what you do before you do.
Yes.
And it's always good to have good feedback. That's I feel like, and tell me if this is right, having those people in your life like a sorority is so important so that they can help point out the things that you don't see about you, good and bad, because it seems like if you didn't have those positive people in your life to encourage you to continue, you wouldn't be here today doing this, true. Right?
Yeah.
Would you say maybe your mentors? Who are your mentors, actually? Who are the people you look up to and help give you inspiration?
So I will say my mom, my sister.
Okay.
My sister has, she's definitely been encouraging.
Okay.
Like she has definitely been like, because there have been times where I have doubted myself.
As we all do, right?
I am very hard on myself too.
So
like any little thing, I take it to heart.
Yeah.
And.
Good or bad, right?
Yeah, right. And I have anxiety about it sometimes too. So, I guess just hearing that, it just kind of made me feel, a certain way.
But it happens, right?
It does.
Especially such a technical and detailed art that you have to create. I'm sure you take a lot of pride in everything you put pen to paper on.
Yes.
I know I would if I made art like yours. And we'll share at the end where they can go and view your art because it is beautiful.
Thank you.
So what's one key takeaway or piece of advice that you'd like to give the audience to remember from your story and your journey from the beginning and not knowing you were into art to now a fashion designer with all these different connections and acquaintances?
Here's one takeaway, because a lot of people have been telling me this, especially with like how I've been self-doubting. Never give up, because at one point in time, things weren't working out in my favor, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. And everybody was like, no,
Right.
No, you're not. You are not. And it was like I was kind of questioning myself and like, why am I here? What am I doing?
Absolutely.
Like, you know. And I think like what made me realize that I am where I'm supposed to be is when one of my friends from high school, she has a daughter.
Okay.
Who is also interested in fashion, but she wants to be an entrepreneur. She didn't want to go to college. She was just like, I'm going to just,
skip that whole little step. Okay.
So she was like, yeah, I want her to talk to you. And whatever consultation fee, like, I got you. Don't worry about it. And so, like, we ended up talking for, like, maybe like an hour. She was asking a lot of questions, writing everything down. And so I remember asking, like, was she going to go to school? Because I had forgotten just that fast that, she said that she wasn't.
Yeah.
Because her mom told me. So I was like, okay, so, are you going to school? And she was like, oh, no. And she was like, I'm just going to go ahead and start. And so I told her, like, what she can look at. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you are in this area. How far are you from this area? And so she told how far. And I was like, it's a person that I went to graduate school with. She has her own fashion design school. And her thing was, I can't remember how she said it, changing, I guess, the traditional way of how we learn.
Yeah.
Disrupting the fashion industry. That's what it was.
I like that.
That's how she talked. Disrupting the fashion industry. So I was like, a lot of people who are in her class, like who go to her school, they're not interested in school. They're interested in just starting their own line.
Almost like they feel like it's a waste of time.
Well, it's like some, I guess, they're like, I don't want to, go the traditional route. I want to go a different route in order to obtain it.
Right.
I guess, and I know like a lot of people, like in addition to design, because of course in school, in addition to designing, you have to like take other classes too, like all those general ed. So they want to skip that and just go straight to the design part. So I told her, I was like, a lot of, people, who are in her classes, they want to go ahead, learn everything so they can get their line out. And then some, they always had this idea, they didn't know how to do it, but they always want to learn. So they're like, okay, finally, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And so I showed her that website. And so I was like, she also has like little programs if you want to just learn this.
Yeah.
And I was like, so since you don't want to go the traditional route, you can, maybe look at this. So she was like, huh. And so afterwards, my friend contacted me and she was like, I just want to thank you. She was like, she was so happy. She took notes of everything and she was like, and also you are getting her interested in going to school.
You pointed out the things that she didn't notice that she may have needed. So mentoring, it seems like, is something in the fashion industry, is something that's inspired you to just keep continuing on.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So being a mentor has helped you a lot.
It has.
And having someone look up to you, I imagine, would be almost a proud moment.
Yeah.
And especially if they are successful in what they do.
Right.
Because you've been through those hurdles and things like that.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I hope you continue teaching because you inspired me, and Lord knows I cannot draw or create anything, but
thank you.
You're very inspirational. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So where can our listeners find you online or reach out to you? How can they connect and see your designs?
I have a YouTube channel, and I need to start back doing the YouTube channel, but it is Ashley D. Love on YouTube. So I'm always welcome to new subscribers.
Awesome.
I also have my Facebook. I have a business page on Facebook is Ashley Love Illustrations, where like I'll put my illustrations on there as well. I have Instagram, ashley.d.love.
Oh, wow.
And LinkedIn.
You're all over the. Oh, and I actually met you at a networking event here at Pneumo Desk, right?
Yes.
So the next time you come to a networking event, be sure you let everyone know you're there too. Okay. You're out there. You're doing it.
Oh, thank you.
And you're an inspiration. Thank you so much, Ashley, for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. And one thing that I will say, like a lot of people don't know, is that I am an introvert.
No.
Yeah.
You know what? It's okay.
I'm definitely an introvert. And a lot of people are like, wait, you? And I'm like,
hey, as long as you're happy in life, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see you next time, Ashley.
All right.
Hopefully we'll be able to see your progress in another 6 months on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. To all of our listeners out there, I'm your host, Story, and we'll see you next time on Market It with ATMA.